Welcome to the Dojo Talk Podcast. Please remove them shoes before entry.
Zen Master is here, and you still have not taken off your shoes.
Yeah. Living every day to define man's mission. Look into the sky for divine transmission. Deaf man's vision makes the blind man listen. Eyes on the prize, this is blind ambition. Thank you.
Yo, what's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Dojo Talk Podcast. We are on episode number 49. Got something special for you guys today, something a little different. Got an interview, a pretty long interview for you guys to listen to. So I've been on Twitter since April, and I've kind of just used Twitter as a way to, try to help grow the podcast fan base. Also as a way to, link up with other creatives, other people with similar interests. Trying to use social media as effectively as I can. And one of my Twitter followers named Lizzo reached out to me about doing an interview. And I did the interview, and it was pretty dope. It was a new experience. I've never been interviewed before, aside from like a job. So this is pretty dope to do. Real quick, there's a lot of notes I want to get out the way before you guys listen to this interview, which did run a bit on the lengthy side. But hey, man, it was a good conversation, so I didn't want to interrupt it or stop it. I thought it was a pretty solid interview, so yeah, I'll definitely be interested to hear what you guys thought, feedback or anything like that. But real quick, let me get some plugs in. So first of all, shout outs to Lizzo for reaching out to me to do the interview. You can find her on Twitter at Lizzo, that's LIZZO _B2S. You can also find her website Twitter handle, which is Soulcial Dreamers, that's SOULCIAL Dreamers, and that's at SOULCIALD_ENT on Twitter. Her website is, let me not get this wrong, so it's SDENT.net. So you can find her there at her website. As I said, covers a lot of nerd culture, so you get some anime. You also get a little bit of music, a little bit of movies. So she covers that. She also has a YouTube channel, which I will try to leave links in the description below for all of her websites, anywhere you can find her on social media. So yeah, shout outs to Lizzo, man. I really appreciate the interview. She also has kind of short clips of the interview. The first clip is 5 minutes. The second one is 7 that she posted on YouTube. So I will leave links for those in the description if you just kind of want to get a taste for what the interview is about, kind of see where, just get a feel for what we were talking about. 2 quick clips you can listen to. So I will definitely post links to those also, so you guys can check that out. And one other thing I wanted to plug, in the beginning of the interview, we talked about, she asked me a lot about my writing and things like that. And I realized after I listened to the interview that I never really mentioned what I write, or I kind of got into it towards the end. But quick plug, I guess, for anybody who's interested. Should have did this first time around, but I'm terrible at self-promoting myself. You can find actually some of my writing and things I have written on my WordPress site, which I'm not very active on anymore, but I do use it sometimes. Actually, the reason I've stopped using it is because I use the WordPress to kind of practice writing, but now I want to get into putting out like actual, like real material. But either or, you can find me on WordPress, the Cereal Sensei.wordpress.com. So you got to put the in front of it. But you can find me on there, and actually the Oddball Chronicles, which is the short story series that I'll hopefully put out sometime before I die. We mentioned that in the interview. I kind of go a little bit more in depth to it towards the end of the interview, but I do have a few excerpts of the Oddball Chronicles on my WordPress page. So if you're interested, you can check that out. So I've got that up there. I've got album reviews that I've done. I do have some pretty dope stories though. Not to be cocky or anything, but for a little stretch, I did this thing where I would like pick a certain song that kind of put a certain image in my head, and I would write a short story about it. So I've got a few of my writing things up here, and I have gotten I think a lot better as a writer since then, but I definitely appreciated using WordPress. It helped me kind of flex not flex, but just kind of like use my creative chops. I tried out just a lot of different things, different styles of writing. It was a good like creative exercise, and that was pretty much what I wanted to use it for, and I think I used it for that purpose, and it's kind of why I don't use it much anymore, because I feel like I got what I needed out of it. But I might eventually start using it again, but that's neither here nor there. But just wanted to give that quick plug because I didn't really mention that during the interview at all. But like I said, I will leave links to all of Lizzo's information in the description below. Of course, you'll get my links. Also, quick plug before the interview starts, episode 50. Working some things out for episode 50, which will be a review of UFC 216 coming up. I'm trying to get a guest on. It looks like as of right now that's going to happen, so should be a dope episode. Definitely looking forward to that. As of now, everything looks like it's a go, but hopefully nothing falls through. But either way, episode 50 should be dope. That card is going to be fire. So yeah, be on the lookout for episode 50. And as always, man, listen to me on SoundCloud, YouTube, Google Play, also on iTunes. Please go to iTunes, give me a rating, subscribe, and share most of all. If you don't do anything, man, just click a share button. Always trying to grow the podcast, trying to grow the listener fan base. So appreciate any shares or subscribes or likes that I can get. But anywho, I've talked enough. Because you guys are about to listen to me talk for another like 2 hours. So yeah, that's it, man. Hope you guys enjoy this interview. Shout outs to Lizzo once again. Appreciate the opportunity, and here's the interview. Hope you guys enjoy, and until next time, I will catch you guys later. Peace. What's going on, people? I am, I guess, known on the internet, in the internet world, as Cereal Sensei, one half of the Dojo Talk Podcast, who I co-host with the Anti-Cool, covering mixed martial arts, music, movies, all that good stuff. Struggling writer, part-time video game player. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I don't really know what else to say.
That was a pretty cool intro. So I guess my next question is, so like, what are some of your goals, for your podcast and like your other personal endeavors?
The main goal right now for the podcast, which I'm finding out is a lot harder than I thought it would be, and it makes me respect other podcasts a lot more, is literally just a simple thing of trying to grow a fan base. Like, I think some people, when you first start a podcast, you just think, I'll record this episode, I'll put it out, and somehow thousands of people will find me. And then when you put a couple of episodes out, you realize it doesn't quite work like that. So I'm just trying to figure out how to expand my audience. Actually, that was the reason I created a Twitter, to be honest. I was actually really against Twitter. Like, I thought it was stupid at first, until I kind of looked into it. I'm like, okay, if I can use this tool right, and I can reach out to the right people, like, I might be able to, turn this into something. So, and then as far as writing goes, that goal, really, I want to take over. Like, I love my podcast, and I want to keep doing it, but writing is my main thing. And for writing, like, it probably sounds cocky, but I want to be like the Michael Jordan of writing. Like, I want to get to a point where when you mention writing, you have to mention me. It might sound arrogant, it might sound cocky, but it's the truth. That's the end goal. I want to put out really creative content. I want to give people something different. But I mean, ultimately, I kind of approach it almost with like a sporting mindset. Like I want to get in this and I want to be really, really great at it. So that's kind of where I'm at with both of those.
Okay, so how long ago did like you start your journey with the podcast and whatever the writing and stuff like that?
Actually, for the podcast, give me a quick second. I might be able to give you an exact date. My first episode was on. All right, so it's not gonna give me an exact date, but it was last year in December, and actually the reason I started it, I was trying to figure out like, well, what do I want my first episode to be, and which is always a nervous wreck, and it was close to the end of December, and I was like, you know what, I should just do a music podcast, and I'll just do the best albums, or not the best, quote unquote, but like my favorite albums from that year. So I think I released that like late December 2016. And I remember it was like right after Run the Jewels 3 came out, because Run the Jewels 3 had came out like right before New Year started. And I remember because I stayed up till midnight. And I remember going on the website and so many people were on there that like the site was crashing, and I stayed up till like 1:30 in the morning because I was like, I have to listen to this. And then yeah, after I listened to that, pretty much was like, all right, yeah, I have to record an episode now because I have this album in my life. It's definitely making the list. And yeah, so that's kind of how that happened. Writing, I've kind of been writing since a kid, pretty much. Like it was it was kind of the only thing I was really good at. Like it was the one thing that I did that like nobody really had to push me to do or teach me to do. It was just kind of one of those things where I tried it and I was like, oh, I'm like halfway decent at this. And so I just kind of kept with it. And it started with short stories as a kid, and then I kind of transitioned into poetry probably around like my teenage years. I actually used to do performance poetry in high school, and then after high school I went on to college, and that was the first time I had encountered script writing. And that class actually, it was writing for electronic media. I had a period kind of in my life where I had strayed away from writing and I was getting more into recording music. But when I took that script writing class, I got that itch to like write again. And that itch has been strong ever since. So yeah, writing's kind of followed me pretty much my whole life. Like even when it wasn't there, it was there. But now it's pretty much like front and center. It's the main thing I'm focusing on.
Okay, so this is probably a weird question, but so how? All right, so you have your your scripts and stuff that you're writing on, your short story that you're working on, and then on the other side you have your podcast. So how are doing these things at the same time going to like? I'm trying to put this in. Basically, how does this correlate? Like, how are you going to use these two things to like build up to the point that you want to get to?
Well, I figure in this day and age, it never hurts to have more than than one avenue. I pay attention a lot to. I pay attention to a lot of what other people are doing, not in a way that I'm like, oh, well, he's doing this, so I have to do this. But like, I'm a very observant person, so I tend to, if somebody's successful, or at least in my eyes, if I think they're successful, I'll look at them and see, all right, what are some things that like they're doing, and after a while, you start to notice a trend, and like nowadays, you'll see. Nobody's doing just one thing anymore. Like the first podcast, well, I say the first, but one of the first podcasts I had ever like started listening to on a consistent basis was Joe Rogan's podcast. And then you find out through his podcast by like a lot of his guests a lot of the people he interviews, I guess to some standard you would say are pretty successful people. But you'll find out if you research, these people have multiple avenues. These people are comedians. These people write. These people direct. That they themselves might have a podcast on the side, or I don't know, maybe they might be a fighter, musician. The point is, like, they do like a number of things, and so I figured, well, I probably just shouldn't stick to writing. Maybe try to just tap into some other avenues, and I kind of think of it as, well, maybe if, let's say, somebody doesn't like my writing, I don't know, maybe they'll like my podcast, because those are like two separate worlds. Like, the things that I write about and the things that I talk about on my podcast have nothing to do with each other. So I figure I can, in some way, use both to build a fan base. Maybe some people will cross over, maybe they won't. It's cool either way. A lot of people don't like to read, I get it. And some people don't like to listen to podcasts, but maybe they like to do, the vice versa of that. But I kind of figure the more things that I can stick my hand in, the better. I think nowadays it's really good to be versatile in your skill sets. It never hurts to know too much or to be able to do too much. So, and I do them also because at the end of the day, you got to do what you love to do. And I love podcasting and just talking about whatever I want to talk about that day. And I love writing. So I want to find a way to take any hobby I have or any interest I have and turn it into like something physical or something I can put out that I can give out to people. I feel like that's a good way to treat your hobbies. A lot of us, we have hobbies, but they just stay hobbies. Like, I don't know, maybe your thing is, you love to watch movies. Why not start a blog about movies? Why not be a reviewer? Or maybe why not even make your own movies? Like, I try to find ways to turn my hobbies and interests into something physical, some kind of content that I can kind of throw out to the world, and hopefully someone down the line will catch on to it and they'll like it, and then I'll try to build a following from there.
Okay, so well, that's kind of how I was first introduced to you. I heard your blog interview that you had with Anime Girls NYC, and that's how I found
shout out to
out.
her.
Yeah, that's my people. But that's how I found your podcast, and then after that, I started listening to more episodes because like we kind of we have a lot in common in terms of like music. I'm not really into like mixed martial arts like that, but in terms of the anime and like other things, they sort of click with me because these are things that I like to do as hobbies, and these are also things that I'm trying to use to create my business, like from the ground up. So I thought that was really cool, like to be able to see how other people are going about it, because we have like our YouTube channel, and then we have the blog where the majority of our content came from.
Right.
And we use both of these platforms to kind of like build and like bring people in, and I think it works. I think so.
It works, but it's hard sometimes also, because another thing I've learned is you jump out with a podcast or a blog, and then sometimes you forget that there's so many other people who are trying to like do the same thing you're doing, and then the struggle becomes you have to find a way to like stand out almost, and that's also like I guess something I'm trying to figure out more, which also I guess ties in with trying to grow your audience, because you kind of have to stand out when you're not like directly competing with other people, but in a way you kind of are, because there's so much content out there now that it's easy to get just drowned and swallowed up in the endless Google abyss if you don't stand out. So yeah, it definitely works, but it can be a struggle. But I look at it as it's a challenge, but it's fun. It's fun.
Like, but yeah, that's what's gonna set you apart. Like, if you figure out like what makes you different from the rest of your peers, you know, that's gonna make a difference between you and like everybody else. Like, and realistically, in this medium that we're in, there's not there are really not that many people of color in this industry, whatever. So that's another thing that could possibly help. I try to be very proactive in that aspect where I like this type of thing, and so I'm trying to find people that are into these same things, and I interact with them
Right.
because they have there's tons of spaces like nerd spaces and stuff for people, for the minority, for the majority, right? And we don't necessarily, as people of color, have that many safe spaces. Like there's like was it I'm trying to think. You got like black nerd problems.
Right.
They're like nerds of color. What is it? There's some blogs, and the ones that there are out there, they're like really, they're really huge because when they came out, that niche it wasn't as like big as it was, a couple years ago. But that's one of my focal points is I want to, be available to people that might not have a safe space, like
Right.
because everything, even if you don't know, everything comes down a lot of times to how we racially interact, especially like in America. Um, this country is like built off of like discriminating against people and keeping them separate. That's something that I kind of have to remind myself, and that's something that I try to incorporate into my business model. My model, like we're gonna be open to everybody, but overall we're gonna make sure we pay attention to the people that need it.
Right. The people that need it the most.
Exactly.
And yeah, and I think that's probably one of like the best things about I found about the internet and even like Twitter, even I guess Tumblr to maybe a smaller extent, but you find out that there are a lot of people out there who are like similar to you or have similar interests. You kind of have to find them, that we're in little pockets here and there, but like even with the podcast thing, like I didn't know it was as big as it was until I started kind of like you, like you link with other people or you follow other people, and then you see the people that follow them, and you kind of realize like there's definitely a market for us, especially for people of color. Like we're out there. It's just we kind of all I feel like we're all like kind of scattered out, and we're kind of, at least now in this age, we're getting closer to where we can, using tools via the internet, now we can get a bit closer together, and we can create these spaces that like didn't exist before. Cause like it's funny, like I always I kind of get jealous of kids growing up now because like I feel like and anybody who's listening, man, like some of you guys don't know, like back in, like I grew up in, well, I kind of grew up around a few different states, but I spent a lot of my childhood in East Baltimore. And listen, man, in the 90s in East Baltimore, there was no nerd safe space. that wasn't a thing. Like that just didn't exist. You got shamed for like being being a fan of like anime or like Marvel cartoons, which have just blown up now. Now every movie is a Marvel movie or DC movie. Like these areas just didn't even really exist. And now it's like it's weird to see how like nerd culture is almost, it's like pop culture now almost, to where like it's gotten so popular that it kind of allows these safe spaces to be created. Because I do think now more people are, not even just people of color, like I feel like the world in general is slowly getting more open-minded to where, you know, quote-unquote nerd culture is now accepted in the mainstream. So now people aren't as afraid to step outside the box. Now we can all link with people who are like us. You got, you know, just think of all like the cons that happen. You know, you got Comic-Con and, oh god, what's the one we have in Baltimore that I've never been to? Otakon. Well, actually, I think it's in DC now, but like these, you know, like these events happen. They're so big now. It's, I don't know. I feel like, man, you guys, some of you younger crowd, man, you're in a good time. You might not realize it, but like there was a time when that nerd struggle was real. Like it was definitely hard, but it's gotten a lot better, and I feel like every year we're making, there's progress being made on that front in terms of us finding safe spaces, or if we can't find one, we can create one and have other people come in. And yeah, I think in that aspect it's working out pretty well.
I had a similar experience. I'm from New York, and I grew up in public housing, so like I used to get ragged on for like liking anime and liking comic books and stuff like that. I was lucky enough to like have friends growing up that were into those things.
Right.
So it was never like I didn't know anybody, but they, you know, people definitely used to, you know, tease me and kind of like make fun of me. I didn't let it bother me because I'm like, look, I like it. You don't have to understand it, like, you know. But it definitely wasn't easy. Like I know people had way worse like experiences in terms of that. Like I was one of the lucky ones, I think.
Yeah, I had small, honestly, I had kind of a small pocket of friends, kind of similar, who feel like we all, even if we were different, like personality wise, that was the one thing that we could kind of bond over, is that maybe we all watch anime or we all played video games. But it's been weird to see how that has just like progressed. Like it's I almost wish I could go, like if there was just a way we could go back and track like how did this blow up to where it is now, because it definitely, like I remember back in the day, like maybe you could get away with Dragon Ball Z because that was like the one anime that like everybody watched or everybody knew about. But now it's just like there's so much more out there, and it's just like it's almost like the nerd culture just exploded. And I don't know, it's awesome to see though. Like I'm glad and jealous that like my little brothers are growing up in an age where you guys are getting a lot of awesome superhero movies. Like my little brothers are gonna grow up in an age where Black Panther, like, do you I've been waiting for Black Panther to get a movie for so long, and like now they're gonna be kids who grow up, and like that might be the first superhero movie that like they're ever exposed to, which, especially for a person of color, like that would be awesome. Like you get to grow up and you get to see a superhero that looks like you, which I know some people, and not to go off on a tangent, I feel like this could turn into a whole different discussion, but like people don't think that, you know, representation matters, but it definitely does. Like you're more likely to, how do I word this? You're more likely to want to get involved with something if it makes you comfortable. And the way that you can get comfortable is if you see people in that space that look like you. So, yeah, it's awesome to see how this kind of like nerd explosion has happened, and now I think kids of the future will be a lot more, I guess maybe compared to like our generation. Hopefully, I want to be optimistic, and that things will probably be a bit more diverse. So they'll hopefully be exposed to a lot more, which I think that can only be a positive. Like they'll have so much more diverse characters and just like inspiration to draw from, because we're just in like this creative age where things are just moving so fast. There's so much content. There's so much going out, from the top dogs like Marvel even down to like the indie level. There's so much good content out there. If you just dig and find it, there's something out there for everybody, which I feel like wasn't the case so much, maybe like a decade or so ago. But I think that's awesome now that kids will grow up and they'll be able to find, superheroes and things that look like them. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous about that too. when you put it in that way, I didn't really it didn't occur to me when I was younger that there was a lack of representation. I never really had the normal response, I guess, like other kids have. Oh, why is there nobody that looks like me? That never really bothered me. Maybe it was because I was more into like anime than I was to the American comics, and realistically, it's the Japanese. They're gonna cater to the Japanese audience. Like we like it, and they're happy about it, but it's not really made to, to be tailored to us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, that was never a thing of me where I felt like I needed to be, included. And then when there are times where, we were included, sometimes it wasn't the best situation, like Mr. Popo, like that.
Oh
that
Lord.
or like Jinx from Pokemon, like
yeah.
They had to change up Jinx because of the whole incident. But it was things like that where we've seen that, and then I'm like, after seeing that, do I really want them to try again?
Yeah, that's what I say. It's almost like, you know what, you can keep me out. Like, it's fine.
Exactly. And so, but at the same time, you'll see something like Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop did an amazing job at creating diversity. Like, especially at the time when it came out. Like, it's 20 some odd years later, it's still as diverse as it was, back then or whatever. Like, it's not many animes that are doing that type of thing in that capacity. So it was there, so I can't say that I can't be like it was nothing there at all. It was some, it just wasn't as much as they have now.
Yeah. And I think it'll get better as what I kind of hope starts to happen. But one thing I do see that like bothers me in terms of representation, things like that, is I feel like we're almost we're almost like waiting on Hollywood and all of these other avenues that, like, we're just waiting that hopefully one day they'll represent us. And I feel like we've been around long enough to know that, I mean, all right, we might get a character every now and again, but I think with this creative boom that we should start hitting the point where we start creating these characters ourselves. And like that's kind of another thing I want to do with like my writing, is that I want to create the worlds that I always wish like Hollywood or Marvel would have done, but for whatever reason those things don't happen. I want to bring those worlds to life, and I think I hope in this age, in this creative age, that a lot of people will take that approach, because at some point you got to realize they're not going to tell our stories for us, or they're not like. I feel like I'm gonna go on another tangent. Like it bothers me when I see things like I'm trying to think of an example. So like at one point they did like a female Thor, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm not knocking it. You want more women in like a lead role. I get it. But I almost feel like just taking an already existing character and just swapping the race or the gender. It's like a shortcut. It
Yeah.
almost feels like it feels kind of disingenuous. Like, why didn't you just either create a new character totally, or give me a character that already exists, who's maybe a woman or a person of color, minority, who just doesn't get a lot of shine, unless why don't we just put the spotlight on them? And which is why I'm so happy that Black Panther is finally getting a movie. So we got Black Panther. I think I'm waiting anxiously every day that Spawn is supposed to be getting a reboot at some point in time. I don't think they have like a release date or anything, but yeah, I don't know. I guess the point is I want us to just create our own characters, man. There's so many. There are a lot of creative minds out there who I hope that they realize like just create the world that you want to see, and that's why I love guys. Shout outs to I'm pretty sure you know him too, LeSean Thomas.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, man, I've been following him. I can't remember the year, but I remember watching the video series he put out on YouTube called Soul Sessions, where you literally saw this man go from, I forgot where he lived, but he went all the way to South Korea.
He's from the Bronx, actually. He's from the Bronx. He moved
Yeah.
out to LA, and he left LA to just go to Seoul. Like, I thought
Yeah.
that was crazy.
That was like I was watching that, and every time I watched one of those videos, I was like, yo, I don't have any excuses. Like, this man, not only did he move, like, dude, he left to another, like, he doesn't speak the language there. Like, that's dedication. And I know it's a lot to ask of a person, but like, in order for us to break in and kind of get our feet in the door, like, these are some of the things that we'll have to be willing to do. But I think it's awesome with him in specific. It's starting to pay off now. He put out Children of the Ether, which I actually just reviewed on my podcast. He did, I think it's like a quick, like 14-minute episode. But it was really dope. And it's also a really, like, I'm pretty sure it's going to turn into like a full-fledged anime. And it looks like it's going to be really diverse. The main character was a black woman, which you don't see in anime. I think the only other anime I can think of that had a black woman as the main lead was Michiko and Hachin.
Oh yeah, that is brilliant too. That was the
Yeah,
other one,
and that's a really underrated, that's a really underrated anime. Like I'd watched that. I literally watched that anime because I saw a GIF of one of the characters. It was the cop. I think her name was Isuko.
Oh,
And
yes.
I saw the GIF and I was like, what is this show? Like, I don't know what the story is, but I have to watch this. And then I went and watched it, and it was, that show is really, really awesome. So yeah, for anybody, if you're listening, you haven't watched that, go check that out. But yeah, I think dudes like LeSean Thomas are kind of showing. We might not see it now because we're in the midst of it, but I think people like him, they'll lay a blueprint for a lot of other creatives to follow on, like, what to do if you want to get in this industry, or even if you don't want to get in this industry. Like, I suggest just watching his story as a creative in general. Like, if you don't get inspired by watching that, then I don't know what else to tell you. Like, that man has a level of dedication that, like, you watch somebody like that work, and it makes you look at yourself like, all right, I need to do more, because clearly this guy's out here, he's out here grinding. So I need to step it up. So yeah, I had to give him a shout out because I think he's gonna play a really important role, if not already, especially for people of color who want to get in the industry and they want somebody to look at. Like, he's gonna be that guy.
Yeah, do you follow him on Twitter? He's always
Yeah.
he's always blessing us with the greatness on Twitter.
Always.
Always, like,
Always.
free lessons right there. Like, he gives so much information out. I'm like, I really respect that guy.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I hope to do with writing, because that's another thing I found out with a lot of these like creative avenues that I think people of color want to get into. Like, it's I don't say it's easy, but let's say you want to be a rapper. You've seen that play out many times, so you have like an idea of like how that process works. But let's say you want to be, I don't know, a director, um, maybe an actor to a certain extent, or you want to be an author or writer of some sort. Like, there are people of color in those fields, but I think sometimes people get discouraged is because you don't see the process from the beginning to how they got like where they are. So you just see, oh, author, they just wrote a book and that's it. Like, you don't see, like, that's why I think LeSean's story was so great, is because you got to see him from the root, from when he first started to how he got to where he is now. So I hope that, eventually, when I put out a book, I start writing, if I can even become semi-successful, I want to help lay a blueprint for people to follow, to direct them to be like, I know you want to get into this field, but maybe you just don't know the steps to take to make it happen. So I want to be able to do that also, is to show other people, just the path that you can take to make things happen. And as of right now, I'm just kind of learning things as I go, and hopefully I want to pass that on to somebody else so that they can take the same step that I did, and maybe do it better than I did, because there's enough room in the pot for all of us. I want everybody to. There's enough room for everybody to get a seat at the table, basically. So I hope to be able to, hopefully one day, create some kind of blueprint that people can follow. If they want to write, if they want to be a creative of sorts. So I think it's important that we share that knowledge that we get with other people, so that they can grow, they can expand.
There's this interview that LeSean had on the IG and Anime Club, where he talks about his experience, like how he got into the industry, like the anime industry, and the way he explains it is it's interesting. It's not like he explains it in a way where he's in there, but in a way where like he kind of just found his way into that. And he's not as in there as deep as like most of us might think or whatever.
Right.
But he talks about the process. He talked about kind of like how he got there, and he worked, like you say, he went to South Korea, and he worked at an anime company in Korea. He didn't go, directly to Japan. He's saying a lot of people, their first thought is, I have to go directly through Japan. And if sometimes your way in, you might have to go elsewhere. And I never even really thought about it like that. And he kind of like lays out a lot of things in that interview. I think it was like maybe like 40 minutes or something. It wasn't even that long. And I learned a lot from just like sitting there listening to him talk. Like, I don't know if you've seen it, but you'll probably enjoy that. Just like,
yeah, I have to look that up.
It's on YouTube.
That's awesome though, because I think a lot of people also with the Japan thing, like, and I get it. You think of animation, Japan, literally, I can't fault you. That is the first thing you think of, but it's interesting because there are a lot of other places that do animation that like you don't think of really South Korea, but then you even have I wish I could remember the name, but like I've even seen animation companies in like it was some part of Africa. I can't remember which.
I know what you're talking about. I think it was Ghana has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they're good, man. Like they're like legit. So like there are definitely avenues out there. It's just that, you know, you don't see it, and or either you don't see it, or you just kind of don't know about it. And I think that's what stifles a lot of people is, you're more likely to chase a goal if you have some sort of formula, or even just the smallest blueprint that you can follow. But the creative field can be hard in that way, and that sometimes it's not really always a set formula. We all kind of find our own little niche or little way to get our foot in the door. So, which is kind of what I'm trying to do. But figure I put this pretty much what everybody's trying to do is. It's not really a set blueprint, so we're all just kind of scrambling around trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, which is why I think is, like I said, I think it's important that we all kind of link up and share this information with each other, so that we all can kind of build some kind of bridge that'll connect us from where we're at to, the place that we're eventually trying to get to.
I think it never occurs. You ever seen Steven Universe?
I know what it is. I can't say I've ever really watched it.
Okay, so I remember watching it, and I'm looking at the credits. I'm like, yo, why are there so many Korean names? Like, in the subtitles, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure this out. And I'm like, coming to find out that the studio that actually did the animation from them is a Korean company. So, like, a large portion of the anime that comes out here, unless it's like Disney or like Pixar or like DreamWorks or something, a lot of they outsource it from Korea.
Right. And
the way it's explained is that the yen is more stronger than the won. The won is the Korean dollar. So it's like, why am I gonna, like, if it's more expensive for me to get work done in Japan, I'll go to Korea. They have like a similar art style, and they're literally like an hour apart from each other, Japan and South Korea. So you're right there, but then you're literally right there. So that was like kind of interesting. I'm like, it makes perfect sense. Like, it didn't even occur to me until watching LeSean's interview, and I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Like, I've been noticing it my whole life, and I never processed it until it was like blatantly in front of my face. I said, wow, you learn something every day.
Funny what you can find reading credits.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Like, it's actually funny you say that, though, because I think that's originally how I found out who LeSean was. Because I love the Boondocks. Like, I can't say enough how much I love that show to death. And I remember one time just, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of weird that I pay attention. Like, I'm that guy who in 2017, I'm the last person on earth who still buys CDs. But, like, I like to read liner notes. I like to know who did what, I don't know, I like to know the nooks and crannies of, like, every little thing. And, yeah, like, I remember watching the end of the Boondocks credit, and it I don't know, it must have been destiny. I happened to look up on the screen, and two names I saw were LeSean Thomas, and there was another lady named Yamara Taylor, who I actually found on Facebook, who is a writer for, I think it's Blackish. I think she writes on that. She's written on a few other shows, too. So it's kind of weird, man. Like, a lot of these names and companies you see in the credits, you can reach out to these people. Like, that's another thing I've learned. A lot of these people who work on shows and in animation, I know we like to think of them as, like, these grand, like, I think people have this perception that, like, oh, if you worked on a TV show, that you're just some big shot millionaire, you're untouchable. A lot of these people, they're just normal people like me and you. They just put themselves in really good positions that they're working on TV shows, and you know, they're where we want to be. So, like, a lot of these people you can reach out to, and some of them are really cool. I've talked to some of them, you know, just small talk here and there, but you know, it's all about networking, man. It's all about networking. You gotta. We all wanna. I feel like everybody thinks they can go at this alone. We even talked about this off air, but you gotta build with people. You have to have some kind of network and surround yourself with people who are, in that same creative field as you, who are trying to, they're trying to get to the next level just like you are. And a lot of them will be willing to help and share advice, if you can find them. So.
And you come at them properly. A lot of times, you gotta come at them properly also, right? Because a lot of people I don't have to tell you anything, but if I'm taking, the time out of my day to speak to you, be nice. And a lot of people, they expect answers and stuff and get mad when people don't answer back. You befriend, you talk to this person, and then maybe after they, get used to you or whatever, or this is somebody that I spoke to them before, then they might be open to actually give you information, but don't just go and start plugging people randomly for information. That's right. Twitter. That's annoying,
And don't be that guy who just don't force yourself into the inbox. Don't spam people. Definitely don't spam people. That is the quickest way for you to not get any information and probably get you blocked or unfriended or whatever equivalent of that. But there have been plenty of cool people I've seen who've released either an indie novel or there's an author named I want to get it right. His name is Ben Henson. He has a book called, oh god, I'm gonna butcher this so bad. I know that the series is called Etika, but it has a longer name than that. But I'm obviously I'm in the process of trying to put out a short story series, and I don't know all the steps. I'm kind of figuring this out as I go, and we actually cross paths on Facebook, and I was like, oh well, he put out a book. Let me see if I can just pick his brain a little bit, and if you just be professional is all I can say. I get it. A lot of the times when you're on social media, you don't think of it as this big party where everybody's just kind of people just wilding out, doing whatever. But treat these social platforms almost like you would treat your business, because at the end of the day, the way I think of it as, if you're a creative and you're on social media, that your social media is your brand. As much as you might think it's just your personal whatever, it's attached to you, whether you like it or not. People are gonna attach your work to the things they see you do on social media. It's all stuck together. So if you're gonna reach out to somebody, be professional at all times. And also a reason, you never really know who's watching or who's paying attention to you. There might have been somebody who maybe they saw your work, and maybe at one point they did want to work with you, but then they saw you on Twitter wilding out, being, I get it, we all have our moments, but some people take it, they take it too far, and it's come on, man. But shout outs to Ben Henson. I've reached out to him a few times, just asking him simple stuff how did you go about the artwork for your book? Actually, the most recent thing he put me on game was I'm at the process now where the book I'm working on, which I should plug, it's entitled The Oddball Chronicles. One day it'll come out, I promise. But I got to the point where I've edited this book probably a good 4 or 5 times, and I'm tired of looking at it, so I want somebody else to look at it. But I don't know personally anybody who edits, or I want to make sure I'm finding somebody that's really good at it, because I want my work to look as professional as it can, being that I plan on being an indie author, so I want my work to look presentable. So I reached out to him and I was like, well, how did you go about just even finding an editor? And he sent me a website, and he was like, hey, just go on here, you can I think it's called Upwork.com if I'm correct, where you can go on there. They have a lot of freelancers, so quick tip for anybody listening, might be something worth looking at. But yeah, I guess it's just the information's out here. People are out here willing to help you, but like you said, you have to be professional about it. Just don't be in people's inboxes just wilding out and just doing whatever. And definitely don't get angry. That's not a good way to build a network. Is you getting angry at people. So
I think I've used Upwork. I think I know somebody that does editing. Um, I could put you in contact with her, and I'll give you her email, and if you decide that you wanna like look into it, you can look into it later.
oh, that'll work.
But
That'll definitely work.
Upwork, yeah. So like Upwork is like I use Upwork like to try to actually get work done.
Hmm.
But you kind of have to be careful with Upwork. There's a lot of people on there that probably are really good at what they do, but then you have people on there that might not know what they're doing because it is a really popular website. So, I mean, just weigh your options. I think Upwork. It was another site I was using called Freelancer. There's also like editors on there too. Um, there's a whole bunch of like work mail websites that you can look into on top of like Upwork if you need options.
I'll definitely have to look because I've been. That's been the struggle after you write the book, and it's kind of like it's weird. You think writing the book is the hardest part, when in reality that might be the easiest thing, because it's after you write the book. Like there's so much more work to be done. You gotta get it edited. Um, you want to have good presentable artwork. And me, I can't draw or I can't use. I'm not good at like artistic. I don't have any artistic talent, so I can't draw. I'm not good with like Photoshop or anything like that. So like I depend on professionals or people that know what they're doing to get those things done for me. So yeah, that grind is real, man. Which is another reason why you gotta have a good network of people. Like, if you're a creator of any kind, man, try to know a photographer, know somebody who's good with graphic design, know somebody who's good with audio. Like, these are services and things that you will eventually need at some point, especially if, you're starting off as an indie. Like, these are tools that you're going to need. And while it's good that you know how to do as many things yourself as you can, one, it saves money, which is always great, but you want your product to look professional. And there are just some things that, well, for me, I'm willing to pay to make somebody for somebody to help me make my work look professional, because God knows if I do it, it's gonna look terrible. And so I'm depending on other people to help me out. But yeah, man, the indie grind is real, man. It's real. It takes time. It takes money. It takes research. But it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do.
Oh, I've been there. I've been there. I've had some horror stories and some good ones, but it's all lessons learned. Okay, so we kind of like touch bases on what some of your goals are, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna ask you maybe like some questions just so the audience can become a little bit more familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, let's see if I can get a really weird one for you.
All right.
Okay, so if you could be any fictional character in any platform, who would you be and why?
Oh man. Alright, I feel like my first inclination is to go with a video game character, so I'm gonna try to stick with that. I guess because I've been playing this as of recent, I'll be Luigi in Mario Kart.
Oh,
I've been on this grind of I'm trying to get gold in every track on every difficulty. So I don't know. I feel like if I could be Luigi in Mario Kart, but like I don't want to die because I feel like, and if you translate that to real life, you know, if you flip over a cart and you fall off of like you fall off a waterfall, you're probably gonna die. So if I can not die but do that, I feel like that would be hilarious, and I want to know what it feels like to hit somebody with a turtle shell. If I can get that, if I can get that feeling and know what that feels like, I'm good with the rest of my life. I can die a happy person.
See, my weapon of choice would be the banana peel. Because
Yeah,
I don't want
that
nobody.
person.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to be able to hit me with the turtle shell back. So I'm gonna take the banana peel because at least you can recover from that. I don't want to
That
get
is
hit
true.
with no shell. Like if you have one, they can have one too. I don't want no parts of that.
Yeah, dog eat dog world.
Exactly. Okay, so what would you say? Um, is your top 5 anime? It could be.
I knew you were gonna ask me this question, and I've been racking my brain.
I told you one of them might come up. I told you.
Yeah, I knew this was coming. All right, so first thing I gotta say, disclaimer: when I do top 5 anime lists, I will never say Dragon Ball Z, only because one, I know it's a cliche answer. Two, I don't think that's the best anime of all time, but like it was the anime that changed everything. So like I put it in like this golden place by itself, where it's not ranked. It just stands above everything else.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna mention DBZ, and it also makes it harder for me to make a list, which I think will be fun. So all right, top 5 all time. All right, listeners, don't hold me to this list. It'll probably change tomorrow if I had to do this again. But on the spot, Rurouni Kenshin would probably be number 1. Number 2, probably gonna go with Trigun.
Oh man.
Ooh, God, this is hard. See, those first 2 I can always think of. 3, 4, and 5 is such a fight. 3, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Ghost in the Shell, standalone complex. All right, 4 and 5, I might just throw some. 4, people can disagree with me, fight me. Psychopaths, I'm gonna stand for that show. Number 5, number 5. One of my favorite shows, most underrated show, Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple. That would be my number 5. I know I left so many classics out. Y'all can fight me. You can argue with me on Twitter. That's gonna be my list.
I think the only people that are gonna really fight you on that are people that are American anime fans. What I mean by that are like people that only watch anime that have dubs to them. You know those people. You know those people.
Yeah, like, and that's another weird thing that bothers me. Like, I realize actually, you know what? Hold on. Who did I have at number 3? I gotta do a switch. I love Psychopaths. I love you to death. Sorry, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has to go in there.
Oh man, that show is so weird.
I love that. I love Psychopaths. Psychopaths would be top 10. JoJo, like, it took me a long time to get into that show. Like, I had a friend, shout out to my homie Taj. He used to tell me all the time. He's like, "Yo, you need to watch JoJo. You need to watch JoJo." And I was like, "All right, one day I'll get to it." And then I watched the first season, which I think was I forgot. It's Battle Tendency. I forgot the other one. But the first season was like, it was cool. It wasn't anything like great. And then the second season, which I think was Battle Tendency, that one was like awesome. And then I watched Stardust Crusaders, and I was like, these stands, and that show blew my mind. Like, I get it. It is a really weird show. Like, that's an understatement. But like, one thing I love about that show, like a lot of shows that deal with people with superpowers, like we see the same abilities get used over and over. It's like, oh, you got the guy, he shoots fire. This guy's he does like telekinesis, or like it's kind of the same things over and over. That show, man, there's so many people with so many different abilities, albeit some of those abilities are really weird and they don't make sense. But like, it's so different than anything else I've ever watched. So like, I'm always like amazed when I watch that show to be like, whoever created this, man, I don't know what drugs you were on or what. I don't know what you were doing, but there are just certain abilities and things I see in that show where it's like, there's no other show that can pull this off. It might be weird and funky looking, but it's so awesome. But yeah, it is weird though. I won't lie. It's a strange show.
Like I'm not even gonna lie. Like it comes on like it used to come on Toonami, and I watched it like passively. Like it would be on TV, so I was like kind of half watching it. I want to like try to watch it straight through from top to bottom, so I could actually grade it. But it's just so weird. It's like I want to see it, but then it's like I don't want to watch it, and then I feel like I wasted my time, and you're still getting no time back.
I would say, because the thing is, like I said, the first season is just okay, but I would say watch Battle Tendency, and then watch Stardust Crusaders. Started slow, but like that second half was so good, man. It was so good. So it is a lot though to dedicate to, so you might have to watch like 30, 40 episodes. But like I would say, if you watch JoJo Stardust Crusaders, and if you watch that whole thing and you don't like it, then that show probably wouldn't be for you. But like, if you get through that show, especially that second half, like I don't see how anybody wouldn't like it. Like it's so much going on. There's so many abilities, and then you get the last fight with Dio and JoJo, which was awesome. But yeah, it's weird. If you can get through the weirdness and not have that bother you so much, I think there are a lot of other things in that show that you'll appreciate. But I was gonna say real quick, I wanted to mention in my top 5, I gotta talk about Trigun real quick.
Okay, go for it.
This show, I was thinking of this the other day. This is one of the few shows that I legitimately like. There were 2 moments in that show that got me in my feelings like no other show could ever do. And it was weird because like the first time, my introduction to Trigun was actually through the movie. It was Trigun Badlands, I think.
Oh man.
Which I probably shouldn't have watched that first, because I didn't know who Vash was. I had no idea what was going on. But like, I was entertained enough to be like, all right, I don't really understand any of this story, but let me watch the show and check it out. And I remember like the first like half, or maybe like the first quarter of the show, I didn't enjoy all that much, because I was just like, all right, we got this guy Vash. Obviously, he's really good with a gun, but he's kind of goofy. Like, I kind of don't really get, like it wasn't connecting at first. Man, when that show hit like the midpoint, and you got introduced to Wolfwood, and you started seeing like Wolfwood had the relationship with, I think her name was Millie, and then you started to get Vash's background, and you started to see more of like why he is the way he is. The way that show did character development, it started to get really, really good. And then the moment in that show that like it shook me, like when, oh, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Trigun, I'm about to spoil the whole thing. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to, but that moment when Vash killed Legato was literally like, like
I can feel
that scene shook me so much, because like you go through the whole show, and at that point like Vash is on the, you understand why like he doesn't kill people because of his whole promise and everything, and then he gets to this situation where it's like, you have to kill this man. If you do not kill him, your friend is going to die, and she's gonna die like right in front of your face. And he shot Legato point blank, dead. Like, And the look on his face after he did it, I was like, oh, I felt it. I was like, oh my God, it shook me. And then the other moment, which I would say, if it's not the saddest anime death, it's gotta be like top 3. Man, when Wolfwood died, I was just like, I can't watch this show no more, man. Like, he gets into this awesome shootout with, I think it wasn't the guy, like, it was like his old master or whatever. So they have their whole epic moment, and then you realize he gets wounded, and then he's sitting in, like, the church. His gun, which is a cross,
That is so
and
badass.
he's sitting on the cross, and then he goes through this monologue where he's like questioning everything, wondering if he chose like the right path in life. And it was just like that whole scene, I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, like the first quarter of that show got off a bit rocky for me, but my God, it finished so strong. And it was just like, yeah, like I'm a person where I don't watch a lot of things more than once. I tend to watch something maybe once or twice, and I judge it depending on like how it made me felt and if it just sticks with me. And that show, man, like those moments stuck with me for so long. Like I felt like I lost 2 homies in that show. Like, well, Legato wasn't a homie, but like that moment was just so powerful. It was, yeah.
His hand was forced, and then it's like you know everything about Vash at that point.
Right.
And then it's like you're watching him crumble too, because it's like, yo, wow,
Right.
I understand. It's been years. I watched that when I was maybe 12. I was probably too young to be watching that at that point. But I remember like how that stuck with me when I was mad young. So like, it still kind of hurt. So I'm like, dang.
Yeah. That show is awesome, man. That show is really, really, really good. R.I.P. Wolfwood.
Oh man, that death was so sad.
It was like, it hurts just thinking about it. It hurts.
I can't think of too many other anime deaths like that had me feeling that. I'm like, I think
that one, I would say, was the guy from Gurren Lagann. I can't remember his name. Was it Kamina? I think that was his name. His kind of hit me because his kind of came out of nowhere. But yeah, I don't know. Wolfwood, that might be the top one. Yeah, I can't think of a lot of other. Like I never cried or got worried when Krillin died. Dying was just his thing. Like Krillin died in DBZ. I was like, oh, he died again. Okay, I get it.
Have you ever seen Full Metal Alchemist?
Oh boy, people are gonna shun me.
No.
So yeah, never watched it. I've never watched Full Metal Alchemist. I've never watched Naruto, and I've also never watched One Piece.
Yeah.
Those are.
It's Full Metal Alchemist has this really like sad death, and when when Brotherhood came out, they repeated the death, so it's like when you watch it the second time, it still feels like the first time.
Oh man.
It's really it's bad, and I'm just like, yo, I was like, it's so sad. So basically, what happens is, if you've never seen the show, the 2 main characters, Ed and Al, they meet this little girl. I forgot what her name was. They met this little girl and her puppy, and the father is like he's like an alchemist, and he managed to create a chimera. And you come to find out that the first chimera that he created, he sacrificed his wife. And he was afraid that he was going to lose his cush life. So he sacrificed his daughter and a dog to make a chimera. That was like the saddest thing.
Gotta bring the dog into it.
Oh, it was so sad. The little girl's name was Nina. It was so sad. I'm like, yo, like, how you do that to your kid?
Oh man, yeah, I've read reviews for that show because like one day I'm eventually gonna go back and watch it because I feel like there are certain shows I need to watch just because. Yeah, I've heard that moments in that show are probably gonna put me in the feels.
I would say watch Brotherhood first, because Brotherhood is more closer to the manga.
Okay.
I think you probably might like that a little bit better. The first one that came out was really good too, but I think the story in Brotherhood might be a little better. But then again, like the stories are like they're really both very different. So it's like you kind of like have an idea of what's going on when you're watching each of the stories, and there's certain things that interconnect, but it's still kind of like a whole entirely different story.
Alright, I'll have to get on that. I've actually lately been trying to figure out the next anime I'm gonna watch, and I think I've settled on My Hero Academia. But
You know?
yeah, I got a long backlog of shows.
Don't watch Naruto. Don't do that to yourself.
I won't, only
Don't
because
do it to yourself.
I can't watch like and I know people were telling me like, oh, you can skip the first so and so. Thing is, I'm a completionist. Like I have to watch something from start to finish, and this is just way too long. I don't have the dedication. I'll stick to playing the games, which I enjoy, but I can't watch the show.
I have so much love for that series, but it's just too much. It's like the first one is like 200 something episodes.
Yes,
Then you have Shippuden. It's like 500 episodes.
Lord.
And then it's a bunch of movies. So like I kind of got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna wait for it to finish, and then I'm gonna finish it. But then I'm like, it's like five. Like I'm like, I would have to go back and finish the first half, and then go back and watch Ship. I'm like, I'm not investing
Too much.
Yeah, I kind of want to,
Yeah.
but it's like really too much. Like, and I wanted to read the manga, but the manga is like, I think like 700 chapters. I'm like,
Jesus. Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying though. It's like it ran for 15 years. So I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, they got a big fan base, so they've been doing something right. But yeah, it's too late for me to get on the bandwagon. I think that train ran by me.
Don't even do it to yourself. Like I want to, but I'm like, and then another thing is kind of like the way Kishimoto ended it. Like he ended it with in a way where like he really just was like, screw everybody, I don't care anymore. But then you're done. Yeah. But then he picked up a whole other series after that. So
yeah, because they have like Boruto now.
Yeah, like I kind of feel. Yeah. I'm kind of in my feelings about that. Like you just like you done and you don't care anymore, but now you're trying to make more money. Like yeah. I'm good. Like you can keep that.
Yeah, I don't have dedication. Not that much. Not that much.
Yeah, One Piece is crazy long too. Like I tried to watch One Piece like twice before, and I could never really get into it. But I hear it's really good.
I'll take people's word for it.
Yeah, One Piece,
that's where that'll stop.
Yeah, but One Piece is crazy though, cause they initially like when they got licensing to it in the States, Fox had it. They had the rights to it, and they did a trash of a job. I think they had it for like 2 or 3 seasons, and then Funimation brought it, and they redubbed the seasons that was done by Fox.
Wow.
So it's double episodes on top of like whatever else is there out there. So
man.
It seems like if this feels like work, it's work.
Yeah.
My Hero Academia. I've also been thinking about that, but I just haven't found the time to like sit there and like watch a series. Like I'm on my computer all day, like working and stuff. I don't want to get on there for more hours to watch anime.
Good thing is I think this season's only like 12 episodes, so I'm like I can do that. I can power through that.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's light. Okay, let's see what other questions do I have? Okay, so what would you say? What's your favorite video game franchise?
Can I do like a 1A and 1B?
That's fine.
All right, so the kid in me has to be. I would have to say Mario. That was just like a huge part of my childhood. But another franchise. I love to death. I will stand for until I die. Metal Gear Solid. Like, Hideo Kojima to me is like, that's like the idol. Like, if I can, as a writer, when I play his games, like, I remember playing the first Metal Gear Solid, and there aren't a lot of games that give me that feeling that, like, when I finish that game, I'm like, oh my god, what did I just play? Like, this wasn't just a game. Like, this was like an experience. Like, that whole, the amount of detail and just things in that game, I'm like, Kojima, you're on another plane. Like, when I write, that's like, those are the things I want to create. Like, I want to make stuff that makes people feel like the way that game made me feel. Because when I finished that first game, I was like, oh, this might be the greatest thing I've ever this might be the greatest thing I've ever played. And then, like, you think you play the first one, and it's like, well, how can you improve on this? And then you play the second one, it's like, oh my god, he did it again. And you play the third, like, it just keeps like, that series is so amazing, man. Like, the amount of just detail and just, it's the subtle little things in that game, from like you talking on the codec and all of the different conversations you can have, to the random moments where, like, you'll look in a locker and there's like a nude magazine or something, and you get on the codec and Otakon's like, he's talking to you about the, like, though, you don't get stuff like that anymore, man. Like, not to sound like an old video game head, but like, for the next gen consoles, like, I don't get games, very few, I'll say, not there are very few that give me that feeling. Like, I can say, after like the PS2 phased out, like, the only other games I think I've played, and I guess also take this with a grain of salt, because I don't game as much as I used to, because I just kind of don't have the time, because I'm kind of into so much other stuff. But like, I try to game when I can, but like, the only other games I can think of that even came close to a feeling like that was BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us.
Oh, that stuff was really great. Like,
The Last of Us, yeah, I'll say, man, that when I finished that game, I was like, oh, this top 5 ever. Like, top 5, it's somewhere in the top 10. That game was amazing, and I can't wait until a part 2. I hope it can somehow live up to that first one. But yeah, that was another game where, like, Metal Gear Solid, that when I finished playing it, I was like, yo, this wasn't just a game. Like, this, I'm in this world. I'm in this world now, man. I'm in it. Like, I was in my feelings at the end of that game. Like, why did you lie to Ellie? Why? Like, yeah, man. That, and I guess on another, like, side tangent, like, I don't think video games get enough credit in terms of, like, being art forms. Like, I think people just look at it and it's like, oh, it's just some, you know, digital interactive thing that you play, whatever. But, like, if you really sit and think about it, which is what amazes me about Metal Gear Solid, is like, somebody sat down and created this entire world that you're playing in. From, like, character design to personalities to the landscape of where you're at to the storyline to the dialogue. Like, there's so much intricacy in that I don't think gets enough credit for, which is why, to me, like, Kojima is like, that dude's on, like, God level of creation. Like, you're not gonna get, there are not a lot of minds like that on this planet, man. Like, you're not gonna get, there's not gonna be another of him. Like, the day that he passes is gonna hurt. I don't even want to think about it, because, like, that's one of those guys where, like, that's a once in a lifetime thing, man. You're not gonna see, there's not gonna be another creator like that ever. Nobody like that is ever gonna walk this earth again. So, like, you better appreciate this series while it's here. And it kind of sucks because I guess it's already gone. I mean, we got Phantom Pain, but then, you know, he had the whole trouble with Konami, that whole fallout, and then I guess pretty much at this point, like, he's not working on any future Metal Gear games. And now they got like this Metal Gear zombie game or what. It looks stupid. It looks terrible. I saw that and I was just offended. Like, don't put Metal Gear in this title. This game looks awful. But yeah, like that series blows my mind, man. It's so good.
Look, if creative people, like people that are really like brilliant and creative like that, they never really retire. So like, especially like with all the like these crowdfunding sites and stuff like that,
Right.
maybe he'll decide that he wants to come back and do like an indie game. Look at Miyazaki. That man is like 90, like it's almost 90 years old, and he's still making movies.
Right.
That man retired 3 times. He retired 3 times, and he still keeps
straight the Jay-Z of anime. Like
exactly. That man is gonna be animating until he dies. Like,
yeah.
So you can always hope for that.
Yeah.
I want to be that person though, like just like doing what I love until I drop dead. Like, I want that feeling.
And I think that's a good thing about one of the good things about trying to be a writer. Like, I feel like a lot of other professions have like these age limits. Like, if you want to be a basketball player or an athlete of any sort, like you need to get into the sport when you're young. You can't just burst on the NBA scene at 30. Like, your prime years, especially like also for fighting, like if you're gonna be a professional fighter, like your prime years, that window from like 25 to like your early 30s, like that's it. Once you hit like 34, 35, I mean, you get some people, there's always exceptions to the rule. Most people, you hit a decline after that. You want to be a writer, man, you can get in writing at like 40. Nobody's gonna care. Like, as long as the story is great, the material's good, I think it's one of the few like avenues where like time is on your side, man. Like, not everybody. You might not be the best writer in the world coming out of high school or at 21. It might take until you're like 35, but you might strike it big. Like, maybe you'll write. Unfortunately, you might write a bunch of trash until you're like 30. But when you hit like 33, you might hit that one that blows you up. So, you know, I think that's awesome about writing. Is you can kind of get in at any time. You know, you can be 40 and still be out here putting in work, or like in his case, you're 90, you're still making movies. I don't even know how a 90-year-old gets out of bed and still has that mindset. But hey, man, you can. Apparently, you can do it. So. Yeah, it's awesome to see people like that.
I love that man. I love that man. Like, he don't understand how he has changed my life. Like, that's crazy though. Like, I know people that are like 70 years old. They can barely move around. He in the studio 12 hours a day.
Right. Putting in work.
Exactly. So
like, and making good. Like, he's not just putting out your run of the mill. Like, he's making really good work. So, yeah, man, like, it's no excuses out here. If you got a guy like LeSean Thomas who's going to other countries to learn his craft, and then you got other guys who are like 3 times your age and they're still doing this, like, there's no excuse. You just got to put in the work. You just got to put in the work.
Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I think it was a couple. I went to this this animation, I guess it was like a film festival. So I'm sitting in there watching these like student films, and I'm sitting there telling myself, I say, I should have went to school for animation. Like, I initially wanted to, and I'm like, I can't draw. So I'm like, how am I gonna go to animation school? I can't draw.
Right.
And I'm looking at these films. It was this one guy. He had this a basketball short. Like his drawings were like something that like a child would draw. Like, it was like a basketball. It was like a little basketball animation. The character had like really like big hands. His shoes and stuff. It kind of was like Disney-esque. Like, you know how like the Disney characters, they have the extra like big feet.
Right.
And like the big hands. And I'm like, I was like, you literally can animate any type of style Jordan. I said, dang, I missed out. It's all good
I'm
though.
I'm waiting. It's gonna. I almost don't want to say it. I don't want to take my idea. I'm waiting for a stick figure movie. It's gonna happen one of these days.
Yo,
I'm telling you.
I
And
I got some. I got something for you that I'm gonna send you later. That's
all
kind of
right.
like that. That one of my friends. I don't want to put the person on blast on the internet, but I'm gonna send it to you.
All
And
right.
it's kind of like it's weird, but I don't even want to put this person on blast like that, because like a lot of people are not kind at all, and I don't want them to go to this person's video and be
Yeah.
ragging on
Yeah.
whatnot, because it really wasn't. It was like very weird, but it wasn't bad, and people are just vicious.
Yeah. The internet is a ruthless, unforgiving place sometimes.
People don't love themselves. That's what it is.
Very true.
Like,
That's a whole nother.
yeah.
The troll culture is I mean, yeah, sometimes it's funny. I get it. You want to get your little jokes in, but some people, they take it too far. They take it way too far.
Let's see. Okay, so I got another question. So, like, what's currently on your playlist, like music wise?
Um, that's a good question. Um, I say the two albums heavy that have been in rotation. Which I'll probably be reviewing on my podcast. Oh, I should plug my podcast. It's called the Dojo Talk Podcast. I don't even know if I said that earlier, but uh, uh, this Rhapsody album, Layla's Wisdom, has definitely been heavy in rotation. This R&B singer Daniel Caesar, his album's called Freudian. Amazing R&B project, like really, really amazing R&B project. Another album which came out really early this year, and I'm almost confident. Normally, it's going to be a thing that I'm going to do like a top 20, at the end of every year in terms of like my favorite albums. Joey Badass, All American Badass. I still listen to that album like on a daily, and it still bumps for me. Like,
Yeah,
I'll,
his first project, Badass, I really enjoyed. I haven't heard the new project yet, but I feel like it's gonna be amazing when I do.
like the first one I like because he was he's definitely really rooted in like that 90s hip hop sound, which I enjoy, so I thoroughly enjoy that album. And it actually kind of caught me by surprise. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. But like coming into this one, I was kind of like, all right, are you going to stick with that? Which is not a bad thing if you stick with that sound, but I think it could have pigeonholed him to where like he'll just be labored, oh, he's that new guy who still does 90s music. But I think on the second album he did a really good job of like expanding his sound but not sacrificing like content or lyricism. And then also this album was a lot more like socially conscious and focused, to where like he was really hitting on some issues, and not in a sense that like not in the sense where like he's preaching to you, or even that he has answers, because I feel like that a lot of times I've seen like other reviewers do this where they'll criticize an artist for like maybe the album will discuss like a certain topic, but because the artist doesn't have like the answer to the problem, they like dock points or criticize him for it. But like if you think about it, that's how life is. Like you don't have the answers to everything. There's some things you're just frustrated about and you just want to vent. And I felt like with the second Joy album, like I got that. Like sure, he might not have had the answer to every problem, and I mean in terms of like racial injustice and police brutality, it's such a complex issue that there's no just one blanket answer. Like it runs really deep. But I thought he just did a really good job of just at least just getting it off his chest. Like this is clearly a problem. I don't really have the answers to it, but like I have to speak on it. So like, and also for him, like Joey's only like, he's a really young dude. I can't remember like his exact age, but you don't see a lot of artists like that young tackle subjects like that, I think, in the way he did, especially at like the level that he's at. So like I was really, really, really impressed with that album. It was really, really good. But yeah, I listen to a lot of stuff though. But lately those two, there's another dude from Maryland named Odyssey. I bump him a lot. Also every now and then, man, I go to my oldies. I love Sade. I throw on Love Deluxe any time of the day. It always, it's such a relaxing, just her music in general, man. Just it puts me in a good mood. So yeah, I'll throw in some Sade, throw in some Biggie, some Big L. I jump around, man. I jump around to a lot of different stuff, depending on what kind of mood I'm in. Kind of depend on what I listen to.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I still actually buy CDs. I had people come say, "Why you still want a CD?" I said, "CD sounds better than digital quality." So if you
It does.
it sounds way better. And most people don't get that unless they're like in the audio field. They really don't understand that. I'm like, no, it has a different sound to it. It's like, no, it sounds the same. I said, because you're used to hearing digital, like most of the music.
Compression.
Exactly, you're used to hearing that, so you don't really know the difference because your ear is not trained to like detect this type of stuff. And CD quality,
Yeah, CD quality is so much more like crisp and just. Yeah,
it's more.
and not that digital's bad, but I get it. That's the age we're moving into. But yeah, I'm buying CDs until they just disappear.
Nah, it's better. Like I know a lot of people that they collect vinyl. I haven't jumped into that realm yet. But I'm kind of thinking about it. But I would only buy stuff that I really really love in vinyl.
I'm so afraid to jump into that because my CD addiction is kind of out of control. I'm definitely a hoarder, and I'm afraid if I start buying vinyl, it's gonna be a whole nother level. I almost don't want to jump into it, but like every time I see vinyl, and like how like some vinyls have like special like artwork, or like they'll make the actual vinyl look really cool. I'm just like, oh, it looks so beautiful. I'm like, I can't keep spending money on, like, I got bills. I can't just be throwing my money away. But I don't think of it as throwing my money away because it's such, I don't know, I love crate digging, man. Crate digging and finding new music. It's awesome. I would encourage anybody, like, if, I know record stores are slowly, like, phasing out. Not a ton of them as much as they used to be, but, we got a spot in Baltimore called Soundgarden. Haven't been there in a while, but like every time I go in there, I feel like a little kid. Like you see all these CDs and all this artwork, and I just feel like it's like my playground, and I'm in like my happy place. So.
Well, I think like overseas, like CDs is still like a big thing. Like it's like here, they're kind of like trying to move away from that, away from the CDs and stuff. But if you go overseas, people still like sell these CDs at shows and stuff like that. They just the powers that be here just decided that they wanted to like go the digital route. But we don't have too many record stores here. Like, and the ones that we still have, the majority of them they deal mostly in vinyl.
Yeah.
And I haven't. That's a beast that I haven't wanted to touch yet because I'm kind of like I save everything, not everything, but I'm sort of like a hoarder too. So if I end up spending a ton of money on vinyl, then I have no way to store them.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another problem. Like I'm running out of CD space and vinyl. I just too many vinyl, too little money, too little space. I don't know. That's why I need to make it as an author. If I can blow up, I can afford some more space, I'll buy vinyl.
Exactly. Have his own dedicated to that.
Oh yeah.
But I know like one of my friends, he lives in Taiwan. And every time I talk to him, he's like CD diving. He's like, yeah, I go. He's like, I go to these stores. He's like, I get CDs for like for dirt cheap, like stuff that's like hard to find. So I'm trying to get. I kind of want to send him some money and give him a
To
list
pick up
to
some.
pick up some stuff. I'll literally send you the money, and I'll send you the money to ship the stuff back to the States. Cause I'm like gems. Like he be finding gold and stuff. I'm like, yo, where do you find that from? Like, especially like if it's something that if it's an album that's not by a popular person, it's gonna be hard to find.
Yeah, you're more likely to find it out there than
Yeah,
here.
because like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like, hook me up. I've been saying I was gonna send him money, but I need to like kind of like get a list and tell him what to get. Then again, I might just be like, yo, just send me whatever, cause I listen to all types of music. So I'll be like, yeah, just send me whatever, and let's see how that goes. But it's dumb cheap. He found what was it? Left Eye from TLC when she went solo, she released the album, and the album, for whatever reason, they never released it in the States. It got released in Asia, and I think it got released in Europe. He tracked down the album. I said, "Where'd you get that from?" They didn't release that here. I'm like,
And then like if you do find the album in the States or you come across it on Amazon, that joint is like $45-$50 because it's so rare. And it's like, come on, man. Like,
come on, son. Like, dude.
yeah.
Like, I think the last CD I brought. Don't judge me. Don't. This is I probably shouldn't tell everybody. But you remember? Okay, I don't know if you know, but you remember Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Yep.
So the Alvin and the Chipmunks had a movie called The Adventure, where they basically like chipmunks and the chipettes. They were having a competition to race around the world to collect these dolls. So they have an album from that. I literally bought the album in the DVD, I think for like $20 off of Amazon like a couple months ago. And I was like, yo, those songs. Some of the songs in that album was actually hard. Like, they had a few songs that were actually covers because normally they do covers, but then they had some like, original songs. Those songs are actually kind of hard. Like I probably shouldn't be telling nobody that, but I don't even care.
Hey man, people be sleeping. Movie soundtracks. A lot of them. I don't know how much nowadays. I haven't bought like recent ones, but like I love the that Transformers animated movie that came out in like the 80s. I love that soundtrack. Like I work out to that soundtrack. Like some of these movie soundtracks and even video games on the low.
Now you know what's kind of hard? Streets of Rage 2.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's life right there. So
those people who were making like them 8-bit songs and 16-bit, y'all were doing some magic. Like
people sleep on the art form. It's the art form, like you were saying. Like a lot of people, if you're not part of the fandom, they don't know. Like,
yeah.
Seriously, some talented people.
Video games have put me on a lot of good music. I actually saw an article the other day of them ranking like video games and their soundtracks, and like one of the games always sticks out to me is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Oh,
like,
yo.
That game and Grand Theft Auto 3 did so much for me musically. Like Grand Theft Auto 3 introduced me to Royce the 5'9", and I've been a fan ever since that game. And Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was probably one of the first games that like I won't say it was like my introduction to rock music, but that was probably one of the first times I heard Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, yo.
And like it just introduced me to other music forms and genres that I wasn't really like checking for. So yeah, like video games on the low, man. There's some really good soundtracks out there. Anime too, man. There's some anime soundtracks I've came across that I thought were really good. If anybody likes if you want some real like beautiful music, so to speak, it's an anime called Terror and Resonance. That soundtrack is amazing. Most beautiful music you'll ever listen to.
Cowboy Bebop soundtrack was amazing as
awesome.
well. Yoko Kanno is a beast. Like
yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Actually, yeah. Yoko did Terror and Resonance. So what
Oh,
I'm
really?
talking
So,
about.
yeah.
And it's
so,
it's
so-
weird. It's weird because Cowboy Bebop and Terror and Resonance, they don't sound anything alike. Cause like Cowboy Bebop was a lot more like jazzy and like funk. Terror and Resonance is just like this really blissful, like it's so peaceful and like serene. So it's so much good music out there in forms that you wouldn't really think of. But and I think that's another thing, almost another tangent. In this creative era, I think there are a lot of ways people can use their talent that they don't really think of. Like a lot of the times you think, oh, I don't know, maybe you're a producer, you make beats, whatever, and the only way you would think, which I get it, because most people do it, you're a producer, so either maybe you put out some instrumental EPs, or maybe you're just trying to find an artist that you can produce for. But you got to think, man, like how many things do you watch on a daily that have music? Commercials, movies, video games, little jingles for like ads, and like music is everywhere. There's no media that you consume that doesn't have music in it. Same for like a writer. That commercial you watch, somebody had to write that. That didn't just pop out of nowhere. The video game you're playing, it's as simple as the storyline might be. Somebody had to write that. So like, there are a lot of just so many avenues and ways that people can use their talent that I don't think you really think of. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, because video games and like TV, I think people just forget. Like, people write these and make music. So these are like valid career paths that you can take. It's just, I think people just sometimes forget about it because you just want to be the next hit rapper or whatever. But there are other ways to get your music out there.
like the what do they call those the music publishers that actually get your songs into shows and stuff like that. It's even more difficult to get those types of gigs than it is to sell your beats to a rapper.
Right.
So like, unless you know you either get lucky because you know somebody, or you literally have to start building your name, like doing like work for like independent like filmmakers. Like, I don't know how it is in Maryland, but here in New York City, like, there's so many like small like independent like filmmakers here, like, and they literally like look for free labor, and all the time, that kind of that are willing a lot of times to give a shot to somebody that might not have experience or might not have credit in that type of avenues. So like you said, there's definitely ways to do it, but I think it's a lot easier to actually just sell your beats to musicians. You might not, unless you're trying to like sing your song to like Rihanna.
Right, yeah, that's
or like Mick Jagger or somebody. like other, you follow what I'm saying? Like, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little bit more easier because you do have a lot of like aspiring musicians, like people that want to just make music for fun, or they might want to like actually like turn it into a career. It's easier to get in that community than it is for the other doors to kind of like open up. So I think a lot of times that's why people don't actually think that's a plausible option, because nobody's really even talking about it.
Yeah. You just got to put yourself in the right position, and it'll definitely take time. But I think it's just an option people should be aware of, because I'm pretty sure these people that make these jingles, they're getting paid.
Yeah, they really are.
They get paid, and the jingle's like 30 seconds. It's not even a full song. So I mean, like, if you can somehow manage to pull off a jingle for a popular company, man, that's a lot of green coming your way.
Okay.
I've been trying to figure that out too. I don't know how I want to somehow break into like TV or film. Not just writing, just like, I don't know. if I could get on like a syndicated show, something that'll give me a check for a while. I've been trying to figure that out too.
Go to Craigslist. Like literally go on Craigslist, and you go through the creative tab. You find some. You can find somebody. Like sometimes the big name companies advertise on there, but you can smart up small. Like it might be somebody that's in the same situation that you're in, that you can work something out with, and you start building your name. If you have a footprint, like I did this, and this, the big companies will start coming to you if you're good at what you do. So I mean that's a way that you can put yourself in that situation. Like you build a resume for yourself that way. Because that'd be the issue that a lot of people do have is that they know how to do X, Y, Z, but if I don't have proof, physical proof that I've done something where they can like check it out themselves, it's just hearsay.
Yeah, nobody's checking for you.
Exactly. I've had that happen to me plenty. I've had that happen to me, plenty of times. Like I worked in the studio. A lot of those artists that I worked with, I record something, they don't put it out, or I can't get in contact with them or whatever. So, like half my work, probably more than half of the work I done, I don't have no trace for it. So I only have traces to a few songs, and some of the stuff that I worked on 2 or 3 years ago, and it just got released now. So like my trail is like really, like it's just really like visible now. So I know what it's like to be able to do X, Y, Z, and no one don't want to talk to you because you can't prove that you did, X, Y, Z. So no one wants to be in that situation. Build you a little small resume to prove that you can do it, and it'll be a lot easier to like get those doors open for you.
That grind is real. That's what it always goes back to, man. You gotta keep putting in that work.
Now, have you ever played a Def Jam Fight for New York?
Yes, I did.
That's my favorite game of all time. That's like my favorite game. I love that game.
I always see people say like they want that to be remade, but like I think now, and it's like, could you remake that today? Like, would it be? I feel like it would be different. Like I don't know. Like it's just the way like music and hip hop has changed so much. Like I feel like that game wouldn't. It probably could still be good, but I just feel like something would be missing. Like I don't know, cause you got to think, man. Like Def Jam Fight for New York, man. You had dudes like Meth, Red, who else?
Ghostface.
Yeah, like.
Little
so could you imagine going from that? Could you imagine going from that to like Uzi Vert, like Young Thug, like, and I get it. I mean, you can still throw in, the same people but you would have to incorporate something from the next generation because you want to appeal to the widest audience. I don't know that. It would be weird.
It depends on how they would do it. Because after Def Jam Fight for New York, they came out with Def Jam Icon, and that was trash. Like, I don't know what they were trying to do with that game. So, like, I don't know if they'll be able to remake that magic. I agree with you. Even though I would love to play it, but I don't know how possible that's going to be with considering music and taking into consideration how games are played now. Like,
yeah.
You gotta move
that and
the whole, like the PlayStation. They got some games with you have to move the whole joystick, like not even the buttons. I'm just like, what the heck is this? So
you got that, and like Def Jam isn't even the same anymore. Like literally, the company Def Jam, like music has just changed so much from then that like I wonder even what licensing and things would be like, because a lot of the biggest artists now, people aren't really signed to labels. Everybody's like kind of like the indie thing is big now. I mean, you still got Def Jam, you still got companies like Universal, all that. But I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing it be remade. I think graphics would be dope. If anything, it would definitely look the part.
Yo, they literally can like make like the the bosses in that game can literally be like legendary hip hop artists that died.
Right.
Like it's literally enough prominent ones that passed away where they can like literally make that a thing. So that would be kind of fun, but then at the same time, it's like it's kind of a tearjerker. You gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta fight
Yeah.
people. But I mean, that will sell. Like nobody, you're like the most profitable after you die.
True. Sad.
Yeah.
Sad, but
Yeah.
yeah, man. There are a lot of artists I didn't really appreciate until they died, and some of them I didn't know about until they died. Like I remember listening to Big L for the first time back in like the '90s, and like that freestyle he did with Jay-Z. I was like, yo, this dude is on another level. And then I look up all his music, and I'm like, yo, this dude is the truth. When's the next album coming out?
Yeah.
Then you Google him, it's like, yo, he's not here anymore. And it's like, well, that sucks. That like, and it really does. Like, he's one of the him and Pun I always look at, and it's like, what could y'all have been if y'all were just here just a little bit longer? Like, what else could y'all? It's always weird. And I've had this discussion at my job, and then it spiraled into something out of control. But like everybody thinks that like, and the main ones are like Pac and Biggie. Like what would they have been in 2017 if they were still around? And I always tell people I don't think Pac would have been making music anymore, to be honest.
I don't think so.
Because he had so many other avenues and things that I think he would have moved way past music. That dude would have been an activist somewhere, or either doing movies or both. Like he
was definitely been doing movies, but he always said that he didn't feel like he was an activist, or he didn't feel like he needed to, like, he was right for that type of position. He was just kind of like speaking on what he thought and like kind of like what he experienced. He never felt like he was the voice of the people. Like he was just telling what he know, like what he sees, like what he learned out through his life. And that's, I think, is part of the reason why he was so big. Like he was like literally like prolific, and he wasn't even trying to be. He was like literally just being himself.
Man. Yeah, that was the thing that made me a fan of him. Like, people, it's not just the music, man. Like, if you watch his interviews, man, like, he was definitely a thinker. And I don't think he got... I think people discredit him because, you know, he, on one hand, he was kind of like for the people in a way, but then on the other hand, he was still a young 25-year-old dude. You know, he had his moments of wilding out, doing whatever. But yeah, like if you watch his interviews, man, like he was a really intelligent guy. And it really sucks that like he got taken so early, and that still in 2017 nobody knows who killed him. There's so many theories, and yeah, it's weird. it's weird. I'm interested to see like what hip hop's gonna be like 40 years from now.
If it survives another 40 years, I'll be surprised, to be honest with you. Like how you said, it's like it literally went from kind of being like a lifestyle thing to where people were like living within his culture, like doing these things, to it going from that to it going to like being like something that you can like kind of just do,
Right.
or something cool. And like a lot of times that cultural element is missing from that, so I don't really know how much longer it's gonna be around. And even if it lasts another 40 years, I don't think it's gonna be recognizable.
Yeah, it's the optimist in me wants to believe that like the pendulum will swing back, and it'll be more about the art form and not so much just, you know, the glitz and whatever. But it's kind of hard to predict because Like, music is definitely like a reflection of life.
Yeah.
And life in 40 years, who knows what that's gonna look like? Like, just life in general. Like,
Exactly.
the times we live in now are wild enough. Like, with Trump, and that's a whole nother.
We're not even gonna go there, but yeah.
Yeah, the protest. Oh my God, that. I gotta say this real quick. I have to get this off my. I love the Dallas Cowboys, but when I saw Jerry Jones take his kneel with that smug on his face, it looked so disingenuous, and I wanted him to catch like the Shawn Michaels Sweet Chin music. Like, it just. I'll say this real quick because I gotta put this out there, and just real quick, I ain't gonna go over the whole backstory of the protest. If you know, you know. If you're not in the know, then whatever. But like, it bothers me now because I just feel like I don't think people really know what they're kneeling for anymore. Like, I feel like the original purpose of what Kaepernick was trying to do, that whole point has just been lost. And now I just feel like it's morphed into something else. And it's just like, I get it, but like, I don't know what this is anymore. Like, we went from Kaepernick trying to bring awareness to like police brutality and injustice. And I'm like, all right, that's great. That's awesome. We definitely need, somebody to talk about that. There's definitely changes that need to be made in that area. But then it's like, literally this past Sunday, like, it just switched into something else. And Trump got in it, and now I just feel like they're kneeling just to go against Trump. But then nobody's talking about the original point in all of this. And then they bring the flag into it, and that wasn't really originally... Like, the whole thing just got... I don't know, man. It's so... it's so frustrating to watch now. Because, like, I don't... When I look at that whole situation, I don't know what it's going to lead to. Like, I don't know what the end game is anymore. Because I just feel like the original point of it all just kind of got lost somewhere. And... I don't know. That could be a whole nother podcast, to be honest. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I hope something good comes of this. I hope. I want to believe, but I don't know. History shows me otherwise. But I want to be an optimist. But I don't know, man. That whole situation kind of bothers me too. But I don't know. That's neither here nor there. I just hope people... I don't want people to lose sight of, like, what the original point of that was. Because I think what Kaepernick was trying to do was really important. But, like, that part is just getting lost in a bunch of other shenanigans. We got Ray Lewis out here on both knees. Just... like, oh, my God. It's almost like a circus show now. Like... Kaepernick and I can't remember the other guy's name because they were the only two kneeling, and everybody was harping on him. But now that Kaepernick's gone, now everybody's kneeling. It's like, where were y'all last year when this man needed you the most? Now everybody wants to kneel because it's almost like the cool thing. Like, I heard somebody say it, like, on Twitter, like, kneeling now is the new dab, and it kind of is, and it's really frustrating and sad that it seems like it's going to that point. But I don't know, just for people listening, if you're gonna comment on that situation, please understand like what the original point of that was, because that part is just getting lost, and people are arguing about things that had nothing to do with what Kaepernick was trying to bring attention to. But I'll shut up about that. I could go on and on and on, but I had to get that. It's been on my spirit. I had to get that off my chest real quick.
Well, basically, yeah, Donald Trump came at the NFL, and they responded in a way. They did that so they could say "F you,"
right?
And that's what that was about. And that's how it is. Like, people, like, being woke is cool nowadays. Like, it's a thing. Like, people are not aware of stuff because they're actually interested. They're aware because it's cool to
Right.
be aware, and that's the times that we living in. That's what it is. Like,
Yeah, the world is crazy. I can't wait to see like what textbooks and like I want to see like how is history gonna reflect back on this like when we're older. Like I don't know. It's gonna be we're in really interesting times, man. Like it's gonna be crazy to see how the world like it's like a movie. It's like we're all trapped in like we're all trapped in this film that is just a cluster of just nonsense, and it's the longest film ever, and I don't know if we're at the middle or if we're close to the end. I don't know. We're just going along for the ride, and I'm really interested to see. Like I feel like we're at like a crossroad right now. Like this whole Trump thing from the beginning could either somehow turn out to be like a blessing in disguise, and being in that now that we're seeing this era that kind of Trump has created, that maybe this will wake people up and be like, all right, we can't do this again, and maybe this will swing things some other way. Or maybe we plummet further and further because people are just I don't know. I don't know. It's weird, but I'm along for the ride with everybody else. So I don't know. We're in weird times. It's really really weird times.
I hear people say that all the time, but like how you say this, like we live in a time where we got resources that no one's ever encountered. Like with the internet, like we're pretty much like we're like the test dummies.
Right.
So we're like no seriously, like we're literally figuring out how this like how is this gonna change the fabric of how media is perceived, how people communicate, like how we build and how we learn from that. Nobody, our parents don't know anything about this. Our
Right.
grandparents think this is completely new. Like I grew up in the '90s, so like the internet wasn't really a thing until maybe like I was around 13, 14 years of age.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like
That's
I grew up like predating internet. So like when it was like implemented and like Twitter and all this stuff started becoming trending, I was a little bit older. Like my little cousin, he's 10. He ain't never been around where there was no YouTube.
right.
He's never
Yeah.
been in that time. My niece and my nephew, like they're growing up in this chaos that we're trying to figure out. So hopefully we can figure it out so that it can be implemented in a way that it is. Like, we're able to, the media is controlled by the same people. So the internet is kind of like able to counter the type of information that we get. But then on the other hand, you got people that can just go online and be making up everything or whatever they want to make up because it's the internet.
Right.
So
and people will flock to that.
yeah, people
Yeah.
they believe the first thing you tell them.
Yeah. It's yeah. It is weird because we're like old enough to have grown up with no internet, but young enough to still remember when like it first came around. So we're we're in like this weird spot where it's just like, yeah, we've just been thrust into this digital world, and we're the first ones, and it's like, all right, I guess you guys need to figure this out. But it's like, how do you figure out how to manage this tool that nobody's ever had to wield this kind of power before? It's like it's like you gave Thor's hammer to like a 3-year-old, and it's like, here you go, kid. You got the most powerful tool on earth. Good luck. Nobody's gonna tell you how to use it. Just figure it out. Yeah, it's. But I think it is good though in a way because, it sucks because information from both sides spreads really fast. Good information and false information. But I think at least now with this digital age, at least I would like to think, it's starting to get easier to see through BS. Like, because it's just so many people now. Like, the internet is like the entire world. We're all gathered in this one room. So it's getting easier to spot nonsense and people lying, but then it's also weird because you have to figure out how to use this tool the right way. Like, this is probably the most innovative thing ever created, and yeah, like it's not easy to figure out how to get millions of people for us to all move on one accord. It's like a football team and we hiked the ball, but everybody ran in a different direction. Like, there's no play drawn up. There's no X's and O's. We're all just kind of I don't know. The wide receivers are running their routes. The old linemen are doing what they're doing. The quarterback is scrambling. It's just chaos. And yeah, I want to think though that hopefully we'll all eventually get to that point where we can move at somewhat one accord. Hopefully, because it's too much going on right now where like as like a society we can't afford to just all be running around doing our own thing. You got people in Puerto Rico who don't have like power, don't have food, and I think the internet is good. It can bring light to those issues, and I've even seen like people posting links to like credible places you can donate to so that those people get like legit help instead of donating to organizations who just seem to take money. So yeah, the internet is the biggest double-edged sword ever, and we're still trying to figure out how to carry Thor's hammer properly. So hopefully between our generation and these kids coming up, yeah, we're gonna have to figure this out. We're gonna have to figure this out.
But that's the thing though, we're the test dummies, and the kids that are a little bit younger than us, they're gonna be the ones to like put that in motion. They're gonna watch from the people before us did this, that, and the third. So they're gonna learn, and they're gonna be the ones to kind of like implement these things and like focus this stuff. But at the same time, I want it to be some type of order, but I don't want it to be like this slave mentality where we all just have one idea. That
right,
doesn't make things
all
interesting. Like
yeah.
I don't want to talk to somebody that's gonna agree with everything I gotta say. I want to talk to somebody they're gonna agree with me, but in other aspects they're gonna debate with me. You don't learn with everybody. It's just like yes, man. That's no fun.
Right.
Like I want to be able to argue a little bit, like not to a point where it's like ruining somebody's lives. But I want to be able to have debate and be passionate about differences and stuff. So that to me is important, that it stays like that.
Yeah, no, those sheep movements lead to dangerous situations. There are plenty of movies about this. We've seen what happens when too many people move in one accord in the wrong direction. It never goes well.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, interesting times, man. I always think randomly, like, whether people believe in an afterlife or not, like, somebody in the afterlife looking at Earth like a movie. Like, this is like one big reality show.
Somebody, I feel like that could be an interesting, like, novel idea or something.
I'm telling you, they're like somebody in the afterlife, or if there are aliens out there, they're watching Earth like, bro, I don't know if we can't. These people, right? These people are crazy. Like, we don't need to conquer Earth. They're killing themselves, so we'll wait until they blow up themselves, and then we'll just move in when they're finished.
People are watching us like, yo, like, why would you send me here? I want to come back home.
Right.
Like, why would you? Why would you?
Oh man, yeah, Earth is a weird, I don't know, society as a whole, man. It's just really interesting. It's really interesting to watch. I can just only hope that we all figure this out before somehow it's too late.
Well, it's like we don't really have a choice in the matter. It's kind of like you gonna sink or you gonna swim. Either you're gonna figure it out, or the wrong person is gonna figure it out, and then we have another Trump in office. So that you don't want that. Um, so I'm gonna end this right here because we've been talking for a really long time. Could you let the listeners know how they can find you?
All right. So if you want to listen to my podcast, which is called the Dojo Talk Podcast, you can listen to me on SoundCloud, Google Play. I finally also got added to iTunes, so I'm on there. And quick note, if you search me on iTunes, you have to search Cereal Sensei, and then my podcast will pop up. So I'm on there. If you want to get at me on Twitter, I am at Cereal Sensei. I'm also on WordPress, which I don't use often, but every now and again I pop up on there. Oh, and also, podcast has a Facebook page, so just go to Facebook and type in Dojo Talk Podcast. You'll see my little logo, so you can click on that. So, on Twitter, on Facebook, I'm trying to get better at this whole social media game, but I'm out there. I'm in. Trying to put myself in as many avenues as possible. So if you're interested in mixed martial arts, if you like music, if you want to hear a movie review maybe every now and again, anime review every now and again, you can give my podcast a look. If you follow me on Twitter, kind of more the same deal, and me just posting randomness. So, but if you want to get at me on Twitter, at Cereal Sensei. I'll post all of my links to like anything podcast related I do on there, so that's a good way to follow me if you want to see the podcast. And eventually when my book comes out, hopefully sometime before I die, that'll be on there too. I'll post a link to that. So yeah, just type in Cereal Sensei, you'll find me. I'm out there. I'm out there in these digital streets.
I plug your book one more time.
My book, whenever it comes out, will be entitled The Oddball Chronicles. It is a short story series. I guess the best way to describe it would be kind of like a mix between like the Boondocks meets Hey Arnold. A lot of comedy, a lot of drama, but definitely infused with real life situations and things you'll be able to laugh at, things you'll be able to learn from. I want this book to symbolize like the growing process, just like of a person, of like pitfalls, learning from mistakes, repeating mistakes, just kind of that struggle that we all go through. I want this to be something relatable, but I want you to also laugh at it, But I think it'll be a really good read. I have sent teasers out to a few people, so shout out to the very few, like literally a few people who I've sent it out to. I wrote the book in like episodes because I don't want it to be technically like a linear story. There'll be themes throughout, but not every single like chapter is tied to the next. So I actually literally listed as episodes because I want the readers to think of it like that. But I've sent it out to a few people. I've gotten some pretty good feedback so far. So yeah, man, look, I'm hoping, I'm really like literally hoping, and if not by the end of this year, like in 2018 at the latest sometime, this book should be out. It should be a physical thing, or at least on like a Kindle that you can look at. So yeah, man, the Oddball Chronicles, you heard it here first. When it drops, it's gonna be some fire, I hope. But yeah, man, I'm definitely, I can't wait to put this out. I've been working on this since like 2013, and I think when I finish it and I put it out, I think people will enjoy it. I think it's gonna be pretty dope.
All right, I would like to thank Cereal Sensei for joining me on this long interview. And for the rest of y'all, I'll check y'all later. Peace.
Peace.